We have to start in the NFL, where the New York Jets have officially moved on from Robert Saleh after Week 5's loss to Minnesota. The Jets fell to 2-3 on Sunday, with the season slowly unraveling. Saleh was first to go. He finishes his 3+ year tenure 20-36 with the second worst ATS record since being hired in 2021. In that span, Saleh has had 6 different quarterbacks start under center, and defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich will now take over interim duties for the rest of the season, at least presumably so, as we welcome in Chad Millman and Simon Hunter of The Favorites to discuss more about the breaking news, or I guess just, the news circulating the NFL world right now. Chad, I'm going to kick it to you first. Your immediate reaction after waking up this morning and seeing this news.
Well, my immediate reaction was, does it really matter who the interim coach is? Because Aaron Rodgers is running that team, and it's been clear the entire season, every awkward interaction between the two of them, that Aaron Rodgers would then casually brush off in his press conferences, that Robert Saleh would try to thread the needle on nuancing why it's not a big deal, that him and Aaron Rodgers are miscommunicating and saying they're communicating fine, a combination of defensiveness and enabling Aaron Rodgers throughout the first 5 weeks of the regular season. It's been a combination of torture and comedy trying to watch Robert Saleh explain away the disconnect between him and Aaron Rodgers. And unless Aaron Rodgers is all of a sudden going to decide, yeah, we're going to start incorporating more play action into our offense and execute a more modern NFL offense, Robert Saleh is not going to be the difference in this team salvaging a season.
Yeah, I mean, the refusal to do motions and all that, totally agree that the offense needs some framework redone. And yet Saleh and Aaron Rodgers were absolutely not a match made in heaven, maybe in hell. Simon Hunter, your thoughts, your immediate reaction to the news as well.
Pretty shocking, honestly. I don't really know how it's his fault that this team isn't playing well right now. I feel like it's all on Rodgers. It wasn't his fault that Rodgers couldn't make a completion when they needed it against Denver. Same thing against the Vikings. He dominated the Vikings offense defensively. That game was Rodgers' fault. I mean, he had Wilson at the end streaking down the sideline, and he missed him wide open. Like, there's a bunch of things that I could put on to Rodgers. I don't know if I can blame the head coach for a lot of their issues right now. So, to me, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, they had, the ability to go after Bill Belichick this offseason, or Vrabel this past offseason, and they passed on it, and now they're firing him 5 games into. So, the Jets are going to Jets. It's just dysfunction and chaos, and it all starts at the top, right? The ownership is kind of been the issue right now, the Jets, the last 10, 15 years, and I think that continues here today.
Right. The news obviously circulating about the firing came decision from the front office. Now, if it's the front office and ownership and not Aaron Rodgers, that remains to be seen. And the defense in general, I know Jordan Schultz reported that the defense was completely caught off guard by the news, and it felt a little premature, as you mentioned, Simon. Something kind of needed to change, but does a midseason firing really change anything at all? It's still ultimately Aaron Rodgers struggling. But speaking of, change possibly coming to New York, well, definitely with Ulbrich now as the interim head coach. Devonte Adams was the favorite to land in New York last week when odds came out and he had requested a trade out of Las Vegas. I'm curious if you guys think that this move either helps or hurts Devonte Adams' chances, or if it's kind of one of those we're making one significant change, we might as well put all our eggs in one basket and get Devonte Adams. Chad, I'll kick it to you first.
I don't think it has an impact on whether or not the Jets are going to go after Devonte Adams. The only thing that matters about going after Devonte Adams is if Aaron Rodgers says we want to go after Devonte Adams, right? He's not connecting with Garrett Wilson. The only player he's connecting with is Allen Lazard, who's a mediocre receiver at best, but he's getting the lion's share of the targets because that's who Aaron Rodgers is most comfortable with. They got Nathaniel Hackett because Aaron Rodgers said, we want him. Again, referring back to what we talked about earlier, Charlie, they're not running motion. They're not running play action. That's what offenses in the NFL are doing today. That's not what the Jets are doing with Nathaniel Hackett because Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to do that. So if Aaron Rodgers is all of a sudden going to say, you fired the coach, now get me the receiver, because if we don't get the receiver, it's not really going to matter. I can't be at my best. They're going to do everything they can because they're so invested in Aaron Rodgers. So I think the only thing that matters is, does Aaron Rodgers want Devonte Adams?
Simon, are you in lockstep with that?
Yeah, it's why at this point, why not? You guys have burned the boats. There is no turning back. You are stuck where you're at now at this point. So keep digging the hole deeper. I mean, if the goal is to win this division and make the playoffs, if that is the end goal of this ownership, why not go get Devonte Adams? Like Chad just said, your best receiver this season is Lazard. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, he has outplayed Wilson in almost every game they've been in. So I'm with Chad. It's like you got no other option. No way does this fix anything in my mind, but it's not going to hurt the team. We've seen their chemistry is off the charts. So I'd make the move. Just go get them. It's already all bad right now for this Jets team.
Well, you mentioned, it makes sense for them to kind of go. You might as well go all in and get Devonte Adams. And you mentioned, the goals eventually to make the playoffs. The Super Bowl was a thought of an attainable goal in the preseason. Simon, I'll kick it to you again here. Do you have any interest in investing Jets futures? They're 40-1 to win the Super Bowl, about plus 114 to make the playoffs, or is this just a sinking ship regardless of what happens?
Yeah, we talked on our show, me and Chad, about how we weren't touching any type of futures in that market for Super Bowls with this team. And the big reason was Rodgers in his career, when everything was perfect, always found a way to lose those close games in the playoffs. So to me, we've kind of seen him take a step back, right? He's not the quarterback he was before the injuries during those MVP runs. He's entering into a new era in his kind of career. And that era, to me, does not win games in Kansas City in January or goes to Baltimore and wins games. I have a hard time trusting him when there's other teams I have more faith in that their style of play is going to translate better come January. So yeah, to me, there is no value right now in betting Jets futures.
Chad, your thoughts in general, is it worth maybe a ticket on them at plus money to make the playoffs, or even in those big moments late in the season, will Rodgers come up short?
Yeah, I'm not wasting my money on the Jets right now. I'd honestly be more inclined to buy into Joe Burrow and the Bengals to win the Super Bowl than I would be with the Jets, even at 1-4 with a historically 5.6% chance to even make the playoffs at this point. At least Joe Burrow was playing like an MVP, right? Leading the league in touchdown passes, one of the best in EPA at the quarterback position. Like, they need to get their defense right. But I still think there's an opening for them. I think the Jets don't have the roster, the talent, or the coaching right now.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. Funny though, that maybe even tripling down on the Cincinnati Bengals as they continue to lose these close games. It's a bit tilting to say the least. I will ask, you said you're not going to invest any money on the Jets. I'm assuming, Chad, that means Monday Night Football against the Bills. The firing felt like one last-ditch effort to kind of salvage the season, maybe rah-rah the team up for an underdog home spot against division rival Buffalo Bills. All that to say, do you bet on the Jets?
100%. This is when you bet on the Jets. I'm not wasting any money on the futures, but we got a rah-rah spot at home, division underdog. This is exactly when you want to bet on the Jets. It might have been a tough bet to pass on even before the firing, but you're going to get one shot to sort of have the rally and do something special in a home game in prime time against a Bills defense that is definitely struggling, definitely troubled in the middle of the defense. We've seen that the past couple of weeks. That's at least one thing we know Aaron Rodgers can do, is maneuver defensive backs and maneuver linebackers, especially of lower quality like the Bills have, to get players into position to make good catches in the middle of the field.
Simon, are you in agreement with this one? Are you okaying the Jets as a dog at home?
Yeah, we've seen in Josh Allen's history the one team he struggles with in this division is this Jets defense, right? They match up really well against what this Bills offense wants to do. So, Chad, we're in lockstep here. I was really hoping this was going to stay at +3 by the time our show got on, but now I'm checking the lines. It's already going down to +2.5, +2 at most books. So I think most professionals have the same view as me and Chad, is this is a big bump for this Jets team. Already in a good spot, playing against a Bills team with, they saying Josh Allen doesn't have a hand injury, but I think all of us watched that game. We know that something just seemed a little off with him. So in my opinion, this is a nice spot to already fade a banged up Bills team. it just got even better now, back in this Jets team in a really fiery week.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, the Jets in a rah-rah spot here. I mean, we saw last year, week 1 at home, even without Aaron Rodgers, the Jets were able to have that miracle punt return touchdown to beat them in Meadowlands, or MetLife, I should say. So, yeah, I agree with you guys on this one.